and welcome to the recording for Yuri's E5 test. So, luckily with talking now, I get to explain more parts of the process. Usually I have a Gen here. I just don't have a Theria friend who has glass record right now, and I'm not using my Sarah friend because extra cap. So just using this. My Gen build is usually just aggro. So the point of the E5 test is just a damage test. A lot of this stuff is just specifically made to cap. Not that he needs much to cap at all, especially on Pablo. I don't have everything taught. I don't have special boost or a lot of different things that could give him most cap. When you're building most units, especially for most content, especially difficult content, you want to be building more bulky than I am. So that's just my little warning here. So, as he is, just going to go through the build, Plant Slayer, because we're playing Pablo. Oh, he has innate special boost. I have lied. This is just damage. Spirit Breath, of course. You want to use Spirit Breath, especially if you don't have Class Record or Honey Elixir, to really use it with your healer to help generate SCT, unless you have a unit that's already very good at it. Backstab is very good, especially on certain enemies like Leva, which we are going to be fighting later in the test. Sword Boost for damage, Combo Master for damage, Berserker also for damage, and Power for damage. I don't even have Mimicry for Plant, which makes this one awkward, but I really don't have much taught, and he's going to cap anyway. Pure Blade Miramasa, of course, for damage, bit of movement speed and damage. Team Kelly build, this is the same between both this test and my Leva test. She's not going to use HE, and she doesn't have her... Let's scroll through here. And you can pause if you want that. That's mostly just flip to survive against Leva. She doesn't have her accessories, so I'm not getting her ult. Specifically so I can buff to do damage, or to allow units that have difficulties capping to cap. The point of the Pablo test is to show the low end of things, like a unit that is just out of the box with being able to reach their base caps without adding on any enablers or any bonus equipment. But she does have her fast cap, so it's especially better for the units. It's my Theria. It's just my normal Theria build. Class record, bunch of mine, MP, yada yada. Enough to survive. And enough of it. And then this is just friend Gen. Just here to be a class record slave. I don't really like class record over Honey Elixir for showcases, I have found to discover, because a lot of the time you don't, most of the time it's just spent looking in the menus, which is not bad for like showcases. Luckily, he has super armor on most attacks, or coinciding with the damage. With the mic, I think he can also kill it, so he's gonna have to get used to that here. Second.
Here goes.
So for ZBS, he doesn't... I like the fact that he, of course, can... Wolf has a ranged attack, the thing that's least impressive about him is his hitcounts, but obviously his S1 is very fast. His S3 and S2 are less impressive in that sense, but he has a lot of cap to make up for this. There we go. See all the bonus. Fuck to the cap. Yeah, cool. So with his Lowell gauge, he can get a absolute fuck ton of burst damage, of course. Most units with 34k, I don't even know how high his caps go. Will do a lot of damage, and luckily he has decently fast skills. 104 isn't the most impressive, but it's about up there with most modern DPS. The thing that makes his kit unique is both the self-sustain, all of this stuff with the yellow gauge and the burst, and then a bunch of slayers, which is why he is impressive as a DPS in his own right, in that he's not just a basic DPS, he has a bit more going on in terms of his kit to enable him to be a DPS. So we will go now on to the Leva test. Hey, welcome to the second half of the video, this time fighting Leva. I changed from Solaris to, Lambda, sorry. I changed from Lambda to Leva just because it's easier for me to set this up than previously, so I'm not relying on a friend support, and I don't have to do a bunch of auto grinding just to guarantee I can use one friend support. So that's why I'm doing this. I'll start with Tinkili. Tinkili build is the same except for the accessories, just to allow the bonus cap, boosting buffs, and just survivability. Her accessories don't really matter much here. Balin is built as the Honey Elixir caster, just to help sustain the DPS doing damage, of course. Boost with all the cap. You want him to survive because he's the squishiest usually, and he is just built to get mana and feed the DPS. With all this to boost that, and just to make sure he's not using skills. Ruto is built, of course, to tank and also to cast Shadow Wall, Resurrect when need be, and Honey Elixir in case you might need it for specific scenarios. Much HP to survive, as well as a bunch of anti-shields and all of that fun stuff. And equips, of course, do better damage, survive, and give more healing. Survival and a revive. And the DPS here, similar build. Again, he's not the most built out. I specifically have him for a little bit of survivability, and I have also given him God Slayer and God Shield. For the DPS, you want to build them tanky enough that they can live through a few of the Leva ults, while also being able to cap. And because Leva has very high elemental resistance, I specifically have Trishula just because I don't feel like lowering the res and I'm lazy. Which is fine as long as he can cap. Scarlet Blade, of course, just the cap gear, and Trish, again, just to be lazy. It's not necessary, and you can definitely get away with just lowering res nowadays, but also I don't feel like setting up the others for that specifically. And of course everything to get him to have the max amount of skill stocks, just to be able to spam and do damage.
Get ready to get started.
Let's start off with War. Don't get that casting. Yeah, I really like this as if I'm honest. We don't cast Tinkili's ult yet just because we are going to by Leva here. And Leva's attack like that like so. We'll get casting on Yuri, Stardust heal, and then we'll get King Kelly's one. And now we will start attacking and building up the OL page. That's good. Luckily, the little soldier thing effect there. Oh, we already have OL page. Cool. Luckily, that specific attack is annoying because it usually spawns on Naruto and is very much doing a lot of damage in the future. So that will save us some time in the showcase. And another cast of that. And I suppose I should save the OL gauge for when she gets very low. I misremembered. I suppose I could have cast OL gauge right there. It's just see if we're fast enough to kill. Yes, we are. Cool. So we just got to skip getting ulted there. The time on this should be fairly good. I haven't tested like any modern units against Leva, except Mia, which is a separate recording. But this should be a relatively short time. Yeah, 39 seconds. I don't have the reference sheet previously, but this, I believe, would likely be the top time, which we don't have a basis yet for other units performing here. But yes, that is the E5 test and the DPS test to help you get an idea of his DPS. At the high end, his S1 is very good because it is fast. He has a lot of good slayers, he has heavy bursts when you build up the OL gauge, he is self-sustaining on SVT, and he also just has, in general, a lot for a DPS. I don't think he's necessarily, like, crazy meta-defining, but he's just a very solid, like, higher-end DPS. And he's Earth, so if you don't have any Earth units, there are a lot. If you don't have any good Earth units, he's a very solid unit. His primary downside here is hit count, of course, which his cap sort of makes up for, but over time he's going to get less and less relevant because of his hit counts. His S1 is very much very fast, very spammable, and does very good at the high end. His S2 is probably the weakest of his skills, just because, like, it does more damage, I think, than the S3 if you were to keep spamming it, but it doesn't really have anything besides the CC, I guess, to really, like, make it stand out as a skill. And then this is a gap closer, and is a fairly long animation, but he has super armor, so that's very solid. And then his ult, of course, is like 1.5 million because of the 1000 times booster. So his ult is fairly decent, and it's just a big chunk of damage. So it's very satisfying, of course. That is overall just my first impressions and the test. I will go into further detail later on with a more formal review using the same footage, but also going more in depth into how he interacts in certain different high-end content. So thank you for listening to this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.